Hello and welcome to Stitches and Starlight. My name is Tashiana, but you can call me Tashi because that's what all my friends do, and we're friends now. I'm coming to you from my home in Brooklyn that I share with my husband Joshua and the two Hell kittens, actual cats, not humans, Minerva and Astoria, and this is my corner of the internet where we talk about all the things that I am knitting and spinning and potentially sewing. So sewing, that's an interesting way to say that word, and potentially weaving, and it's just fiber joy and wool chaos all the time. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on the thumbnail. There are a million voices on the internet clamoring for your attention, and you saw whatever this is and you decided to give it a go. And if you're a returning viewer, you already know what time it is, y'all. Welcome back to the channel. Hello, welcome. We're doing Vlogmas. I guess this is technically day 4 because I've actually filmed vlogs, which is a surprise to me as much as it is a surprise to you that I actually have vlogs for Vlogmas. But we are going back to our normal sit and spin format. I think I'm gonna try to get the vlogs up on weekends when I have a little bit more spoons, and then we'll do sit and spin during the week, and for the rest of the advent calendar, obviously. So I will show you. I did finish spinning and I have transferred it to a weaving bobbin, and we're gonna talk about why I've transferred it to a weaving bobbin in a second, but here is day 1. So here's what day 1 looks like all finished. Some of the lighter and the darker colors are lost in this shuffle, but that's what day 1 looks like all spun up. And I did confirm with Rose that this is Tessel, not Texel, which, you know, what a bait and switch, but it's Tessel. And what I thought would be fun is I brought my fleece and fiber source book out with me, and we're gonna talk a little bit about Tessel because this is my first time spinning it. I've heard about it before. We're going to page 309. I've heard about it before, but this is my first time spinning it. And I know there are people who are like, you know, diehard Tessel fans. So when I was talking to Rose, what Rose said for the Advent is every other day is the same fiber. So day 1 and 2 are gonna be the same fiber. Day 3 and 4 is gonna be the same fiber, 5 and 6 and so on. So I think what will be fun is on the even days after we've already spun it the first time, if I tell you a little bit about the sheep breed, this is not a breed study. Y'all, manage your expectations. It's not a breed study, but I thought I'd tell you a little bit about this. So, Tessel, I really hope I'm saying that right. I'm pretty sure I looked it up. But Tessel is from the Netherlands. They are a Lincoln and Leicester long wool cross. I was correct, it is a long wool. I thought it was a long wool. I should go with my gut. So they're a Lincoln and a Leicester long wool cross. Oh, apparently they come in blue and they have a steel gray to almost black fleece. That's interesting. 28 to 33 microns, which again, that's what I thought. It felt like a long wool. Micron count. So the higher the micron count, the more coarse and robust a fiber is. The lower the micron count, the more fine a fiber is. No luster, typically white. And they recommend you spin it. What are their spinning tips? Yep, they said, keep loft in the yarn, which is what I did. And you can knit it in anything or weave it. Consider colorwork or stockinette sweaters, cozy and very sturdy blankets, or mats and pillows that offer nice cushioning. Okay, so that's what they recommend. Keeping some loft in the yarn and then maybe some colorwork, which would be great because I could put that in the yoke of a sweater. So what I'm going to do is not make any decisions about my final yarn. I did talk to Rose a little bit about what she thought I would do for Advent, especially since I'm spinning it here and sharing it with all of you, and she recommends that I spin all of it and decide at the end. She did not recommend a combo spin because she said a lot of the fibers were very different, which is the thing that I thought was going to be true, right? Like, we're spinning a medium Advent, but that could mean a number of different things. So she didn't recommend a combo spin. So I'm going to spin all of my singles and then wind them off to weaving bobbins and decide what I'm leaning towards. What she thought was a good idea, but she said I should wait and see what the colors do. What I'm leaning towards is plying 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, and so on because they're the same fiber, and then I'll get a bunch of 2-ounce mini skeins. So instead of getting 12 1-ounce mini skeins, I'll get 6 2-ounce mini skeins, and that's what I'm leaning towards. But we're gonna open day 2 right now, and we'll see if that makes sense. So this is also Tessel. I really hope that I'm saying it right because I've said it a million times now. This is also Tessel. The present dance. Choo, 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 choo. Presents for Tashi. Presents for Tashi. Presents for Tashi. All right, enough. The presents. Oh, I understand why she said you should wait now. I get it. Wow, but this is fun. But also I get it. I don't think I would apply these two together either. I should just show it to you. I'm looking at it and you haven't seen it yet. Here is day 2. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it? So there's pink and purple and blue. There's a few spots that are like undyed. There's this really fun camel color in here that I don't know if I've ever seen in a dyed top. This is beautiful, but I do understand what she was saying. I don't think I would apply this with that orange and blue either. So I guess I am gonna get 12 mini skeins, and maybe I'll weave it. That's a lie. That's a lie. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna get 12 mini skeins and I'll decide when I'm done. But I'm really delighted. I'm really delighted. All right. Enough. Let's get to work. So I thought what we would talk about today is a lot of people are interested in sewing, and a lot of people are interested in talking about sewing. So I thought we would talk about my Me Made May reflections, because I have a lot. And I'm gonna preface this by saying we're gonna talk a little bit about gender and gender exploration and all that kind of stuff. So if that's not your vibe, go quietly and go with God. Just quietly see yourself out. If you're gonna stay, we're gonna talk about a lot of personal things and the way I feel about my body and the way I prefer to dress my body. And I don't need you in the comments giving me a hard time for that. So again, if none of that is your vibe, I'll see you tomorrow. Or I'll see you when I see you. But I feel like I should just preface this right now because again, this is my channel and we get to do what I want here, and sometimes you get to stick around. I did realize that this Vlogmas we're getting a little bit up close and personal, which I hope that a lot of you are here for. We've already been here for a year and I feel like you know me kind of. So I thought it'd be fun for you guys to get to know me a little bit better. But again, if that's not your vibe, quietly see yourself out. I'll see you around. We're gonna get to the wheel and we're gonna get spinning. I'm spinning this exactly the same way that I was spinning it on day 1. Laurel is chattering a little bit. I think she'll stop doing that as I fill the bobbin. I probably should have oiled her again, and I didn't because I was silly and I was impatient. So any noise she makes is my fault and not hers. So I thought we would talk about sewing, why I started sewing, what I've learned since I've started sewing, and maybe go through some of my favorite things I've made this year. I did that last year. I've talked about some of my favorite things that I made in 2022. We are in 2023. So I thought I would do the same thing again this year. So I started sewing, and I feel like, oh Lord, which way turns it off? I want to turn it down. I started sewing because I think I started sewing for the same reason a lot of people started sewing. The things that I wanted, I just couldn't find. And it was less like particular shapes, and it was more that I just wanted things to fit. And I should have watched last year's video before I started doing this so I'm not repeating myself. But also there's a bunch of new friends here. So I am 6 feet tall, and I have a 43-inch upper bust, a 45-inch full bust, so I am a sewing B cup. I have a 39 to 40-inch waist, depending on what day I'm measuring. And then I have 54-inch hips. So that is a very big disparity between my upper body and my lower body. My upper body and my lower body tend to consistently be 2 to 3 sizes different. So it made finding like high-waisted jeans next to impossible because I couldn't get jeans that fit both my waist and my hips. It made buying dresses really difficult because I couldn't find a dress that would fit my bust and my waist and also fit my hips. It made a lot of clothes shopping difficult. And what happened is because I could only find certain silhouettes that fit me, I ended up wearing a lot of A-line and fit and flare dresses and fit and flare skirts, because at that point it only had to fit my waist, right? Because it only had, because of the way those garments are designed, there's so much volume at the hips that if it fit my waist, then that was okay. And so I ended up wearing, again, lots of A-line, fit and flare. There's too much tension here and I'm struggling a little bit. Lots of A-lines, lots of fit and flare, and that was not necessarily the thing that I wanted to wear. The other thing I did wear was I wore a lot of pencil skirts, because, oh Lord. The other thing I did wear was I wore a lot of pencil skirts. That was one thing that I was able to get fit. But pants Pants were beyond me, and the only time I got pants that fit was if I was wearing super low rise pants, because those pants aren't sitting on your waist anyway. I'm gonna like restart my single and then get back. And on the opposite side of wearing things that were super fitted, I ended up wearing a lot of things that were oversized because I just could not find things that fit my body in the way that made me happy. And so I started defaulting to oversized silhouettes. And I'm sure people who live in a bigger body have heard this before, but people are constantly telling you about what's flattering. And so like, if you have a smaller upper body, you should wear things that flatter your small upper body and like hide your larger lower body. And so you internalize all of these quote unquote fashion rules. And the reason I started sewing was I just wanted things that fit. I wasn't even like concerned about particular shapes and styles and silhouettes. I just wanted something that I could put on that would fit my body, that would make me feel good. I wanted like trousers that fit. I wanted dresses that fit, and I wanted dresses that fit me everywhere, that I did not have to like belt. And that's part of the reason why I started sewing. And I quickly realized that once I'm having silly tension issues today. Let's see if that fixes it. I quickly realized that learning a few basic skills opened up the world to me, and gave me space and room to explore that I never ever saw coming. Like the exploration that comes with being able to make your own clothes was the afterthought for me and was not the reason I learned to sew. And I know for a lot of people, that is the reason they learn to sew, is they want to be able to explore with different textures and different patterns and different silhouettes. I literally just wanted clothes that fit me. And then everything else was an added bonus. So Me Made May, if you're not familiar with this, I'm going to have to just keep messing with this until I get it right. If you're not familiar with Me Made May, I think the challenge has gotten a little bit further from what it was intended to. But I think the crux of the Me Made May challenge is you just wear handmade garments in May. And you don't have to wear only handmade, but the goal is to get those like, you know, precious things that you've made yourself out of your closet and onto your body and help you like reassess your wardrobe. And just wear your handmade stuff a little bit more. And I participated this year for the first time, because this year was the first year I felt like I had enough of a wardrobe to do Me Made May. And at the end of the month, I only wore something that was store-bought on day one. I wore a tank top on day one that was store-bought, and everything else I wore for the entire 31 days of May was something that came off my machine myself or something that I knit, and I left my home every day. So I had 31 days of outfits. All of those outfits are documented on Instagram. So if you're new here and you haven't like, you know, seen any of those pictures, all those outfits are documented on Instagram. And I will put some pictures up here of some of my favorite looks. So I definitely have a few favorites over the month. But I, you know, got up and got dressed every day and took the picture, wrote the caption, shared the details. And by day 4, I had a little bit of an epiphany about what this project was going to look like. Like, again, I thought it was just going to be like a silly vanity project. I was going to get to share what I made with everybody and share how I could build fun outfits. And by the end of it, I was having some full-on realizations about myself, about my body, and about how I wanted to present myself to the world and what felt real and true and authentic. And it wasn't until day 4 that I had my first, you know, and that was very early on. On day 4, I had my first revelation where I was just like, oh, this is going to be a lot more than a vanity project. This is going to be something really reaffirming and really like soul changing. And it was just the act of holding up a lens to your body every day. I mean, we see ourselves in mirrors, right? But like, I was avoiding a mirror for a very long time. I mean, this is not a unique story, but my body did change post-pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, I was a bit of a gym rat, which was not healthy either. You know, trigger warnings for people who have their own disordered eating situation. Please skip ahead. I've had a very complex relationship with food. I've had a very complex relationship with the gym in general, and a very complex relationship with my body for a really long time because I was constantly trying to make it smaller. And I thought that if I made myself smaller and fit into smaller paces, I would make myself a little bit more palatable. and I would take up a little bit less space. And for a very long time, I was trying to figure out how to take up less space. And so I was trying to shrink so I would take up less space. And you know, COVID happened and gyms closed and we were all home, and all of those, I mean, thankfully I have unlearned a lot of those habits, because not all of those were good habits. A lot of them were actually pretty bad, but I had to unlearn all those habits. And in the aftermath, my body changed considerably, which again is not a unique story. I think this happens to just about everyone. I think everyone, or not everyone, I think a lot of people had a similar experience to being home and not being able to go outside and not being able to do the things that we normally do. And the way stress, I mean, we were collective, there was collective stress, there was collective grief, all those things do things to your neurotransmitters, those things do things to your hormones, and our bodies change as a result of it. And I came out the other side just avoiding mirrors. I did not want to see who I had become and what I had become on the other side of that. And my clothes were getting progressively larger because I was just hiding my body and I didn't want to deal with it. And on day 4, on that, you know, ritual of stopping and parking the camera, taking a picture of my body, like I actually looked at it and it was mine. And whatever people like feel about it or think about it, it was my body. And I could choose to honor my body and respect my body and take care of it. Or I could choose to continue to be mean to it and say mean things about it. And my goal was never body positivity. My goal has always been body neutrality. And I understand that for me, body positivity is a big goalpost. And for me, body positivity required the goalpost to constantly be moving. And I didn't want to do that to myself. So the goal was body neutrality. I just wanted to look at my body and be able to honor it for what it does. It gets me to work every day. It gets me home every day. It lets me spin yarn. It lets me knit. It lets me hold on to the people that I love. Like my hands work, my eyes work, my ears work. And what if I was just a little bit less mean to this like physical space that my metaphysical consciousness like operates in? And so that was part of the reason why I wanted to do, that's part of the reason why I kept doing Me Made May. Since day 4, I looked at my body and I was like, what if I was kinder? And what if I got to dress myself in a way that influenced me being kinder in the long run? And so I went, you know, I did the project, and by halfway through the month, I started playing a little bit more with like silhouettes, and I started playing a little bit more with like shape. And all of the shapes that I've always admired on people that I thought were inaccessible to me with my decidedly feminine body and, you know, my big hips and all that other stuff that comes with, all of a sudden became accessible because I could make my own clothes. So all those like androgynous silhouettes that I've been pinning on Pinterest and just going, I wish, became accessible to me. And it just became a place to play with gender and play with like presentation. I got my first binder over the summer, well, over the spring during Me Made May. And I wore my binder outside for the first time, and I made clothes designed to have a flatter chest for the first time. And I made cargo shorts that are like, I think someone called it like a lesbian's like wet dream the other day. I made cargo shorts for the first time, and it was really nice to have that space and that room to play in a way that I never would have had it if I wasn't able to make my own clothes. Now, would it be nice if like androgyny and those kinds of silhouettes and those kind of shapes was accessible to plus size people on a regular basis? Yes. Would it be nice if we weren't constantly trying to fit fat bodies in like body slimming shapes? Yes. Would it be nice? But I also understand that I don't live in a fantasy society. I live in the real world. And sometimes the things that I wish were nice don't always happen. So by the end of Me Made May, I had realized a few things. I had realized that my hold on what I thought my gender presentation was not as firm as I thought it was. It is actually a lot more fluid than I thought it was. And I realized that play and exploration's okay. And I don't have to like explain myself or like define myself or do any of these things. I can just do what felt good that day. And I was really grateful for the project, I mean, there was this one outfit that I think Joshua described as an escaped kindergartner or a deranged kindergartner, and it was like probably one of my favorite things I wore. I definitely had a few like art teacher moments, and then there were the moments that I was fully dressed up. Like I had this one outfit that I wore that was head to toe white with like these super drapey tencel trousers, and it was like very much coastal grandma, and it was just cool to not have to do like not have to stick to an aesthetic, right, and not have to stick to a vibe. And that is probably my favorite thing that sewing has done for me, is it has just offered me freedom in a way that I don't think I ever realized I didn't have. Because I had just come to terms with like, this is what things are, right? And like, if you're not pushing back at things, you don't realize how much you're being trapped and constrained until you push back and you go, things don't have to be that way. And sewing has helped me realize that things don't have to be that way. Now, I do still wear ready-to-wear clothes. I mean, I wear a million sweatshirts, but most of my pants are me-made because it's nice to have pants that fit. And actually, most of my pants are body, like, they don't touch my body at all. My favorite pants are my Arthur pants, which have so much ease in the thighs that, like, my legs don't touch those pants at all. And I actually find it kind of fun to exaggerate my lower half and to do the exact opposite of what people were telling me to do my entire life. So my closet now is a mix of me-made and ready-to-wear with a heavy focus on me-made. In fact, most of the things that I have that are ready-to-wear right now are just like t-shirts and like loungewear. But once I master making like sweatshirts and sweatpants, I think my wardrobe is going to probably be mostly me-made at that point. Because the things that are ready-to-wear in my closet right now are just like lounge things. But it has been a lot of joy. It has been creative exploration. It has been freedom. It has been very good for me to learn how to sew. Now, do I always enjoy sewing? I don't always enjoy sewing. There are definitely some things that I find incredibly tedious. I love the way a button placket on a cuff looks, but if I could avoid ever having to do that again, I 100% would. I hate sewing a collar stand. I hate it. I love a good button down, but my God, do I hate sewing collar stands. And I tend to gravitate towards things that have camp collars that don't have collar stands for that reason. But also I do really enjoy challenging myself. I really enjoy challenging myself. And especially now that I've like made a concerted effort to allow a little bit more whimsy into my life, I can make the clothes that I want. Like I can go on Instagram and see all these things that I like and then make it myself because I have all the skills and the tools and the resources to do that. And I don't have to wait for someone to make that stuff for me, which is really freeing and brings me a lot of joy. So that's why I started sewing. I've only been sewing for probably 2 years now, not even a full 2 years. I think I started sewing summer of 2022. So a year and a half. In a year and a half, I have managed to amass a lot of me-made clothes, but that's also because I worked at it. It's a muscle like everything else. Sometimes people tell me that I'm talented at things, and what I tell them is, nope, I work at it. Yes, you can have a natural tendency towards these things, but everyone you see who's doing the things that you really want to do, they've worked at it. And sewing is totally accessible, provided you are willing to work at it. You can learn anything on YouTube. Every single seam that I've run into trouble with, I've learned on YouTube. Every single like adjustment when it comes to like adjusting for a princess seam or like a flat seat adjustment, or if you need to know a little bit extra around everything I've learned on YouTube. So as long as you're willing as long as you're willing to work it, you can make any of this happen. There are a million online fabric retailers that are really reputable now, so you don't even have to worry about going to a fabric shop. There's Blackbird, there's Core Fabrics, there's Salt Lake Society, there's Surge Fabrics, there's Stone Mountain and Daughter. There are so many reputable online fabric stores right now where you can just go online from the comfort of your bedroom and have fabric come to you in the mail. So there's really, unless you just don't want to, there is nothing stopping you. I get a lot of people go, I really want to sew. And I'm like, well, what's stopping you? Is it not having a machine? Because that is a real barrier. And I'm not hand sewing. So I get that there's a barrier, but I'm sure in your neighborhood, you could find a place where you could rent a machine. A lot of like sewing places have open hours with their sewing machines. And I know a lot of like yarn shops also have sewing machines. At least in my area, there are yarn shops that have sewing machines that have open hours sewing. So if you really want to sew and you're not, what's the barrier? Is it that you're worried about the amount of time? Well, everything takes time. And if you're comparing sewing to knitting, sewing takes a lot less time than knitting does. So where is your barrier and how do we reduce it? Is it that you can't find inspiration? Because I find everything online. I go on Instagram, I go on Pinterest. There's a ton of YouTube videos that do roundups with like patterns that are dropping because of, you know, as trends change and the seasons change, the patterns that designers are releasing continues to change. There's, I think, the Fold line on YouTube is one of my favorite channels to see what's coming out. But also, find your favorite makers online. If you're, you know, if you like Instagram, find your favorite makers online and follow them. Find your favorite designers online and follow them. There's a sewing is so much more inclusive now, and there's a, you know, a good tendency to continue making the craft more inclusive and making space for future sewists. And also there's tons of people just willing to share their knowledge. I learned so much from one of my friends. Her name's Made by Francesca on Instagram. And I have learned so much from just going, hey, Francesca, I'm stuck on this thing. When you have a moment, can you help me? I'm happy to help people. I just don't know if I have the knowledge to help. But you got to use your online community and do the work. And then anybody can make stuff. I think my favorite things that I've made this year, I made a cotton twill suit. I use that term loosely, suit. And it was a cotton twill bob pants and a Gilbert top. And I wore it with a Bluma tank top, and it was the first day I'd worn my Doc Martens, my platform Chelsea boots, and I felt like such a rock star. And then there was also the day that I wore the same cotton twill shirt with my cargo shorts, and the first time I wore my binder outside, also felt like a rock star. I felt seen. I felt like myself. I loved all the dresses. There's a peppermint dress that I'm blanking on the name of. Oh my God, Peppermint is such a good resource for free patterns, by the way. If one of your barriers to entry is you're worried about the cost of sewing patterns, Peppermint Magazine has tons of free patterns. And there's this peppermint dress that is a gathered skirt. I'm really upset that I can't remember the name of it, but it was one of my favorite things I made, and I wore it weekly because it was like literally like putting on a nightgown. Oh my God, the Elizabeth Suzanne Harper tunic, I also wear weekly, just like putting on a nightgown. Any sort of elastic waist pants. You guys all know that my Arthur pants are my ride or die. Like, I talk about them all the time. I wear them all the time. But then in terms of big wins, like I made hard trousers. The Jones pants by, oh gosh, I think it's Goldfinch Studio, is one of my favorite pairs of pants ever. They look like hard pants, but they have elastic in the back, so they're really easy to fit, and they're a zero waist pattern. There's so many things that I made this year that bring me a lot of joy, and there's so many things I want to make. I mean, I talked about my winter sewing plans a few days ago. If you haven't seen that, I highly recommend popping in and checking out that video. But I also want to make a blazer this year. I'm really interested in like adding some more big linen dresses, very like Son de Fleur energy. You know exactly what I'm talking about, but very like Son de Fleur energy. So I'm really interested in adding some linen dresses. I'm working on making my first set of stays. I'm just all about making the things that I want. I'm no longer expecting the world to give me the things that I want, and I'm now just going to go at it and make it myself. So I hope this inspired you to give sewing a go if you haven't already, and if you're looking, I really do hope this inspires you. I will put a list of some of my favorite pattern designers that are size inclusive in the description box. That list includes Sew Liberated, Paper Theory, Friday Pattern Company, Chalk and Notch, True Bias. I mean, a lot of these are names I'm sure you've heard before, but I will make a list of my favorite pattern companies that I think are doing, you know, making really cool designs, but also making things that feel timeless. Like, we don't always need to have something that is trendy, because I want to make pieces that are going to wear. If I'm going to work super hard on finishing all my seams, although now I serge everything because I'm lazy, but if I'm going to work super hard on making like a really well-constructed garment, I want to make sure that it's not trendy and I'm going to be able to wear it in a few years, but also like, who cares about trends? I wear what I want. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like I don't want to keep making things that that like 2 years from now, nobody's going to be wearing it. So I think these companies do a really good job of making pieces that are timeless, that fit well, I mean, I rarely have to make adjustments besides blending my hip and my waist. I always have to do that. That is going to be an adjustment I make for the rest of time, is blending at my hip and my waist. But for the most part, these things fit well and don't require a lot of adjusting. So I'm going to leave a list in the description box of my favorite pattern companies, as well as my favorite places to get fabric. And I guess I'll see you guys next Me Made May. I'm really excited to do it again and to see how my sense of fashion has continued to evolve and how it has changed. It's a really good way, it's a really fun way to have like a capsule, because I don't believe in a capsule wardrobe, I guess I should say that. I don't believe in a capsule wardrobe. I enjoy play too much and I enjoy experimenting too much to have a capsule wardrobe. But it is nice to see like where things are and what you're wearing and what you aren't wearing and what feels good. So I think that's it for today, y'all. I have just a little bit more spinning to do. The good thing about these fibers is they are lower grist, so there's not as much fiber in an ounce as there would be in like a Tazhi or a Rambouillet, which is like higher grist. So I feel like these 1 ounce pieces are going by pretty quickly. Not that I'm in any rush. I probably have like another half hour of work here and then I'll be done. But I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me today. We will be back in 2 days. So I think this is going up on Tuesday. So today is Sunday that I'm recording it, but like my regular Vlogmas episode is going up tomorrow. So this is going to go up on Tuesday. So I will see you really soon to continue opening my advents. I have been opening the Melly Knits advent. Today has been, today's advent was delightful. I'm opening them all up before I decide how to spin them. So I won't be spinning that until after Christmas. But I really hope you enjoyed hanging out with me today, and I hope it inspired you, if you have a sewing machine, to pull it out and to start designing clothes to help you design the life you love, because you have all the skills and all the resources, and now you just got to do it. I will see you around for the next one.